Hello everyone and welcome. It's Shanna. Now I am back with my Love from Lizi February 2026 card kit. And you can order those now. They are available in the shop. And we've got Baked with Love and we've got the 6x6 pattern paper. Now on the first one I made that fun fold card. It was super fun. I'll link that video. And this one we're going to be using the die set. I think there are 24 pieces with this die set and it's super fun. It's got an apron and all the trim, and that has lots and lots of fun little kitchen elements. There's an oven mitt, a whisk, a rolling pin, which I didn't use the rolling pin on today's video, all kinds of spoons and forks and just all kinds of fun pieces. Now I'm taking the scrap paper from that fun fold card that I made, the remnants, and I'm going to make two cards, and we're going to use the apron and some of the cooking elements, and we're going to use some of the ribbon that was included in here, and we're just going to make some really fun cards. So I'm just showing you that that paper came off the top of that fun fold. It was part of the pattern paper that was used on the top of that. It is 3.5 in width, so I cut it down to 4 3/4. And then I'm going to take this one down to 3 3/4 by 5. These are going to layer up very nicely. And then we're going to use our dark teal colored cardstock in a full A2 size panel. And I think it makes a beautiful frame around there. This could be any number of type of card with that floral pattern. It's really pretty. You could just do just about anything with that particular pattern paper that is included in the kit. We are going to use it as our base layer for our apron. And I'm trimming up my card base just to make sure it lays down nicely and get any rough edges that are on there. I had some rough edges. This is a new trimmer, so I'm kind of getting used to it. Anyway, and we're going to get our, I think it's called Oceanside, color laid down on here. And then we'll start layering up our panels. And then we'll have our home base for our die cut pieces so we can create a cute little apron card. And I'm just enjoying a cup of coffee there. So we'll get some glue on here and get it laid down. And this is sped up a little bit. I did kind of take my time making these cards, and it was a little bit longer than what I think you'd want to watch her video, so I did speed it up. I'm trying to get this pattern paper laid down on there nicely so we have a nice frame around it. And isn't that pretty? I think the pink pulls out of the pattern paper in there, and then that teal really goes well with the leaves that are on the floral elements. They're a teal colored, and I think it looks really pretty. There's a nice little stripe pattern in the back of it. Now here's my apron, and I've used a couple of different colors of pink, and I've got a pocket, and I've got the base of the apron, and then we've got the scallop trim pieces for the apron that we're going to get laid down on there. Now I didn't know what all these pieces were. I was guessing, and I think I guessed right, but anyway, I'm going to use this for the trim on the bottom of the apron, and this is just going to be a very delicate and pretty apron. And then we're going to use this for the pocket of the apron, and we're going to put it up high. I think there's two sizes of pockets, one for kind of the up high where I'm going to put this one, and then one for lower. And I think I might use the lower one on the second card when I make my second apron. So I got that all lined up, and then I moved it. So I'm going to try and get it lined up again so it's nice and neat. And then I only glued around the edges of the pocket so that I could tuck things in there. And then these are like, they're like eyelets or whatever for your apron, I believe. That's what these are for. And I'm just putting them around the holes there. And then we're going to bring in the decorative element for the top of the apron. And it's got a couple of little holes in there as well that I think you can hook your apron strings to. And that's what I'm going to do with both of my cards. I'm going to use some of that ribbon that was included in the kit and hook them through there. So just get it lined up and give it a good pinch and clean the glue out of the little bits there. It's a real pretty decorative trim. And then we've got the cutest little oven mitt, and I'm going to use the bow to put on the oven mitt, and I think it looks really cute on there. So I'm just cleaning up some little die cut hairs off of there. And isn't that cute with that little bow on there? Super cute. That is definitely something that I would like to have in my kitchen. So I'm going to take this thin, and this is kind of a hot pink twine, and we're going to just kind of thread it through here, and we're going to use it for the straps to our apron, if I can get it through there. I'm just going to tuck it in, and we'll tape it down and then tuck it in the other side, and then we will have just like our straps for our apron. I'm just going to kind of do it kind of simply. I've got some double-sided tape, and I'm just going to get a piece and just lay it down on there. And then we'll feed the other side through, and this will just look like the ties to our apron. Now, I have several aprons like this that I have in my kitchen that I use. Now, I don't have do I have a pink one? I don't think I have a pink one. I've got a fall-colored one. I've got a buffalo check one. I've also got a white one that has, I think, the chili cooking champion was my husband's. And then I have some half aprons that you can just tie around your waist. So, okay, so I got that through there, and I'm just going to pull it kind of how like I want it, and I'm going to put some double-sided tape down on there. I'm going to trim it off and save that for another card. And we've kind of got our little straps on there. And I'm just going to give it a good press, and there we go. Super cute. We've got our little apron, and we've got our little oven mitt. We're going to work on our other elements. So here's where I want to take my little utensils, and I want to kind of tuck them in my little apron pocket. I think it's a cute little space. Now this is where I glued the edges down, but I didn't do the center, but it was pretty tight. So on my second card, we'll actually use some foam tape, and it'll give me a little bit more wiggle room. And since I can't just really poke them down in there, I'm just going to trim them down a little bit and just kind of barely stick them in there. And I've got just a little spatula, like a rubber spatula, and I laid the whisk down, and I'm going to grab another little element. I think I got the fork there or something. Actually, another spatula. And I'm going to use those, and we'll reserve the other pieces for our other card, and we can just use some of those bits and decorate the other card with. Now this one's going to be more colorful because we've got the pattern paper. The other one will be a little bit plainer. Now I'm going to bring in the stamp set, and we're barely going to scratch the surface with this. I'm just going to put a little glue on there just to make sure my spatulas don't fall out of my pocket. And we've got all of those fun little stamped elements, that scale and that mixer. And then you've got the cake riser. Super, super fun. And then you've got a couple sentiments. I think you have celebrate, happy birthday, and sweet as can be, I think. And I'm going to just use one of the sentiments for one of those stamps for my sentiments, what I'm going to do. So I got my little oven mitt with a little bow laid down on the corner of my apron, and I think it is super cute. So I'm going to grab some cardstock, and we're going to get our sentiment stamped. So I just brought in my Misty, and I'm going to bring in just a scrap of white, and I'm going to grab the sentiment off of there, and we're going to get it stamped up. I'm going to grab some, because I've got turquoise on here, I'm going to grab a turquoise ink pad. Actually, I'm going to use Gina K. I think hers is called Turquoise C, and I'm actually going to use that on my card. So I'll just grab that little mini ink pad that I have, and we'll get it stamped up. So I took a little break in between this voiceover for dinner, and tonight I was like, oh, what am I going to have for dinner? Well, I went out to the freezer, and we have a garden, and each year, and we put up a lot of food, and I had done a whole bunch of stuffed peppers, and I saw them sitting in there, and I thought, I'm going to set those down, and that's what we're going to have for dinner tonight. And so that is what we had. We had stuffed peppers and red sauce, and then I just made some garlic bread, and it was just delicious. And they were good and hot, which is awesome for this nasty cold weather that we've been having. We had a good warm meal, and we had some cheesy garlic bread with it, and it was just yummy, and it was so simple. I put it, I did the work ahead of time because I had them stuffed and everything, and I just put them in. I've got a little Curtis Stone multi-purpose cooker, and I just put them down in that, and I set the timer on it and just let them do their own thing and cook up. And so it was super, super simple. And when they were nearly ready, I just popped some garlic bread in the oven and was good to go. So I think since we're working with a cooking card, a baking card, I guess is what it is, we should talk about our food. So I'm going to go ahead and take this last little bit of remnant of this paper that we used on our unboxing card, and then this card, we're going to put it on the inside. I'm going to bring in some more of the little utensils. We've got a whisk, which is super cute, and then we've got a spatula, and I'm just going to kind of lay them down there in the corner, and we're just going to have a little fun on the inside of this card. And we're just going to lay them down in there. Now, I can use this card for just anything. It says baked with love, so I could just use it for a birthday card or whatever. Now we're going to go ahead and make our second one, and I went ahead and die cut out the apron in this lighter teal color. And I'm going to use the remnant panel for my base layer. And again, I'm going to cut my card base down, get a good crisp edge on it, and make sure it fits. And then we're going to use another remnant of patterned paper, and we've kind of got the same size. We've got 3 3/4 by, I think it's probably 6, so I'll have to cut it down. Actually, it's 3.5 by 6. And this panel here is A2 size. I just took and die cut our apron out of the inside of it so that we can just kind of use the colors over and over again, just kind of repeat them. And then this has got more white on it, and we're going to bring in a white panel. And so this one's not going to be quite as busy. I was measuring to double check. It is 3.5. So I'm going to go to 4 3/4. And then we've got a nice little frame around there. And I'm just going to use these 2 layers. We're going to get it laid down. And then we can add our second apron in and start working on this card. Now, I was watching a bunch of videos as I was crafting. So whenever I reach across there, I'm actually skipping a commercial as I'm crafting along. So it made for a fun little crafting session where I was crafting and just kind of watching some videos. Now for this layer, I decided to bring in some white, and I'm bringing in the Love from Lizi postage set of nested dies. And I'm just trying to decide what size I want to use. And I'm going to use this one here, and we're just going to bring in just some plain white cardstock, and it'll kind of tone it down, and it'll make this card a little bit more clean and simple. We're going to use a lot of the same elements with the apron and some of the utensils and ribbon, but it'll look very different because we're going to have a lot of white. So we've got our little panel there, and it's going to fit nicely on there. And I'm going to bring in some foam and just pop this panel up. And I've got some wide strips there, and I'm just going to cut 2 strips and just lay it down on there and get this panel popped up. Just add a little dimension and a little shadowing. And you can see we've got our whisk, and our little piping tube is what we had there on that pattern paper. Now for this one, I've got just the light teal apron, and I've die cut out some white trim. And you can see the little lacy bits on this. And I am shuffling through stacks of stuff trying to find my tweezers, and I had covered them up. So I'm going to get my little decorative piece laid down there. And I put the glue in the wrong spot, so I wiped it off the top, tried to rub some on the bottom, and then decided to go ahead and add some more. And then for this one, since I struggled tucking in my utensils, I'm going to bring in some foam strips, and I'm just going to use some small pieces. I'm going to cut them in half and just kind of position some foam around the outer edge, and it'll lift it up off the apron, and I'll have plenty of room to tuck whatever I want to tuck in this apron pocket. Now this is the bigger pocket. I use the smaller one kind of on the chest area of the apron, and this one we're going to put it lower on the waist area. And I think you could use this with just the decorative piece and make it like just a waist apron and not have to use the big piece of the apron. I think you could do that. So there's an idea, a different idea. So this is almost like a pasta strainer or, something like that. And it's a big utensil. And I've used the dark teal for it. And I'm just going to put a little dot of glue on there just to hold it in place. And then we're going to bring in some other elements for our pocket. And at this point, I haven't realized that I have forgotten the lacy trim that goes along the bottom of my apron, and I'm still tucking. So here we've just got a regular spatula, and we're just going to tuck it in. And then I'm going to dig around in my little Dollar Tree tray there and get my little pink spatula out. So we've got a rubber spatula, a regular spatula, and I don't know, a pasta strainer or whatever you want to call that. Now here's the decorative element. I realized that I forgot that, and we're going to get this laid down on there. I think if you laid this piece across your big pocket, you could make, like I said, just a kind of a half apron that you would just put around your waist. You could do that. But anyway, so I've got the white ribbon that was included in the kit, and we're going to string this in here. And I'm going to get creative with it. I'm just going to stick some of it through there, and we'll tape the back side down. And then I'm going to go in through the other hole and then tape it back down. And it's going to, my straps to my apron are just going to be kind of loose behind my apron, just so that you can see them. And then we'll add some straps to the top. We're just doing a different kind of application of our ribbon for this particular apron. And I'm just going to have them kind of tucked behind there to where you can just kind of see the straps kind of laying behind the apron. So I'm going to use the double-sided tape again and just get it laid down on there. And then I'm going to kind of squish that flat and get it positioned to where I've got a little bit of the edges showing on both sides of that. So it just looks like the straps are tucked behind the apron. And then we're going to use some more of that white ribbon for the top and just kind of loop it through. And I don't need much of it. I've got a good amount of that left. I can use it for something else, for another card. And I'm just going to have to weave it through there. And then I'm going to weave it through this other one. And it's going to be like you tie it around your neck, this particular apron. And I'm using the pick tool to just poke it through that hole because I'm on the struggle bus with those nails because they're acrylic and they're thick and you can't work with them very well. So we'll just give it a press and get it through there. And now we've got the part that we would tie around our neck on our apron. And so I'm going to fuss with it a little bit. And then I decide to just glue it down. And we've got 3 little white bows that match this ribbon in our kit. And so I'm going to position this and trim it off, and we'll add a bow for a decorative element. Now I've decided on this one I'm going to pull the backer tape off, and I can't get it off this first piece. I don't know. I struggle with it, but we'll get them off the other ones, and it'll help it to adhere, but we're going to get some glue on there as well. And then we'll get it laid down on our card. And you can see that first one, the white, the first layer pulled off of it, but there's still some paper strip that's covering up the double-sided tape on that first piece. But we're just going to put some glue on here, and we've got plenty to adhere it down. And I just wanted to kind of go crossways. And I'm just going to just layer those 2 strings over each other, and then we'll put a bow on it. But we're going to trim, once I get it glued down how I want it, I'll trim it down to where we don't have those extra pieces sticking out behind there. And then we'll lay our bow on there like it's actually tied. And I'm just trying to give it a little bit of time for the glue to adhere, and then snip that off. And then we've got our little bow like it's tied. And I think that's cute. It's a cute use of the ribbon, the apron, and the bow. Now there's still a little piece on there that was showing behind there. And I'm going to lift it up and just snip it off. And that way it doesn't poke out behind my bow. And I think it's really cute. And I'm looking at it thinking it's finished, but then I realize I have a cupcake I can add to it. So the cupcake actually comes in two pieces. You've got your icing and then you've got your base layer of your cupcake. And I've just cut them out in the pink and then the dark teal. And we're just going to get it laid down on there. We've got like a strawberry cupcake with a little teal wrapper on there. And we're going to lay it down on our little apron. I was trying to decide whether to put it up in that white space where I've got a lot of white area. But I went ahead and laid it down on the apron, and then I looked over in my tray, and there are these little star pieces, and I'm not sure what these are for, but I thought, I've got them die cut out. Let's use them for some embellishments, and we'll just stick them in there, fill in that white space, and just add a little extra interest to our card. So that'll pretty much finish up our card. I'm not going to add a sentiment to it. And I'm just going to give you a little peek at it. I thought about putting something on there, and I thought, no, I'm not sure what I want to use it for, so I'll just wait. So here's this one, and then we have got our other apron card. You can see it's a lot more busy than this one. And then we have got the fun fold that I made in the unboxing, and I used the scraps from the pattern paper on these two cards. So I hope you like them. Thanks for watching. If you do, consider giving a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye now.